The NBA has never had a shortage of freakish, God-given talent. Towering athletes born with abilities that seem to mock the very concept of fairness. Players who arrived in this league already finished, already dangerous, already destined. Yet the player who carried the heat and heartbeat of an entire playoff run, the man who made the whole world stop and watch, was someone the experts had long ago written off, a man once deemed constitutionally incapable of ever becoming a star. He was abandoned by God, abandoned by his team, and abandoned by his own mother, left outside her door like something unwanted, something embarrassing, something she simply no longer wished to see. And while the rest of us sit around lamenting the cruelty of fate and the unfairness of circumstance, Jimmy Butler spent his entire life delivering one single, unshakable sermon with every drop of sweat, every bruise, every impossible comeback. The only faith worth having in this world is faith in yourself. On an unremarkable afternoon in 2002, a homeless teenager walked down a road in Tomball, Texas, tears streaming quietly down his face. His mother's parting words played on a loop in his head. Brutal in their simplicity. "I don't like the way you look," she had told him. "So you have to leave." His biological father, Jimmy Butler II, had been gone since before his son could walk, vanishing into irrelevance and leaving behind nothing but a name. Now at 13 years old, carrying the unnecessarily heavy title of Jimmy Butler III, the boy understood clearly that his very existence had become an inconvenient obstacle to his mother's new life, her new relationship, her new beginning that had no room in it for him. So he stopped begging. He swallowed whatever was left of his pride, turned his back on the only home he had ever known, and walked alone into a world that had shown him absolutely nothing resembling mercy. The streets were thick with danger, the way those streets always are, lined with young rebels, hunched near garbage cans, trading away their futures for a moment of numbness. Jimmy had 10,000 reasons to join them, and not a single soul on earth who would have blamed him if he had, but he didn't. Instead, he found a basketball court, and that ball became the one thing in his life that didn't lie to him, didn't leave him, didn't tell him he wasn't enough. For nearly 2 years, he slept on park benches and under bridges, drifting through a kind of darkness most people will spend their entire lives never knowing. He never complained, because somewhere in the rhythm of that bouncing ball there was a faint and stubborn light, and he had decided, quietly and without ceremony, that he would follow it wherever it went. When Jimmy entered high school, word spread fast. A senior named Jordan Leslie came looking for a pickup game, and Jimmy beat him without hesitation. The prize was 2 nights at the Leslie house, a small and unremarkable reward that would turn out to be the hinge on which the rest of his life would swing. But a soul broken as completely as Jimmy's doesn't accept kindness without suspicion. For months he refused to eat a single meal at that table, sleeping with one eye open, always ready to disappear at a moment's notice. It was the family's children, 7 of them, who kept pulling him back one by one, taking turns making the case that he belonged there. And finally, Jordan's mother Michelle sat down with him and offered him something no one had ever offered him before. She asked him if he wanted to be part of the family, and she gave him 3 rules. No wandering out at night, do your chores like everyone else, and take school seriously. The family wasn't wealthy, life under that roof was tight and sometimes hard, but that single act of grace was enough to thaw everything that had been frozen solid inside of him. And from that day forward, he called her mom, completed every chore without being asked, and for the first time in his life had somewhere real to put all that furious, restless, unspent energy. With a home behind him, Jimmy threw himself into basketball with a kind of obsessive, almost frightening focus. He was meticulous and relentless, stacking small victories on top of each other like bricks, building something patient and invisible. By his senior season, he was averaging nearly 20 points and 9 rebounds a game, which sounds impressive until you hold it up against his generation. Derrick Rose was electrifying Memphis. Blake Griffin was destroying rims at Oklahoma. James Harden was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And Jimmy Butler was at a junior college nobody had heard of, invisible to every scout in the country. For most players, a junior college is simply where the dream goes to quietly die. Jimmy waited in the dark and kept believing anyway. Coach Williams arrived at Marquette University and made a routine scouting trip to Taylorville to look at someone else entirely. What he stumbled across instead was Jimmy, raw and self-taught. His entire game built on a blacktop somewhere, no polish, no pedigree, no system. Williams never planned to make him a scorer. Defense and rebounding were the tools, and he understood intuitively that this particular kid had no exit, no safety net, no alternative plan. He could only go forward. So Williams pushed him with a ferocity most coaches wouldn't dare attempt. And under that prayer, something deeper began to take shape inside Jimmy's understanding of the game. A real leader, he came to believe, doesn't stare at his own statistics. He becomes the glue. He makes everybody around him better until the coach genuinely cannot imagine life without him. By his senior year, he was Marquette's cornerstone, guiding them into the Sweet 16 and calling Mom Michelle afterward, voice trembling with something that sounded like joy and terror in equal measure, telling her that if the NBA ever gave him a chance, he would give it absolutely everything he had. The 2011 draft class was stacked with brilliance: Klay Thompson, Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie Irving. The kind of class that makes scouts feel like they've discovered religion. Jimmy Butler nearly drowned in it. With the very last pick of the first round, the Chicago Bulls quietly called his name, and that was that. In Chicago, Derrick Rose was already the chosen one, the youngest MVP in league history, the golden son of the city's grandest ambitions. Jimmy Butler III was barely a footnote, not even a supporting actor, more ghost than player in the early chapters of that story. Then Rose's knee gave out. The Bulls collapsed, and somewhere in the rubble, something unexpected and extraordinary began to surface. When Chicago faced the Miami Heat in the 2013 Eastern Conference semifinals, LeBron James was operating at a level that felt genuinely supernatural, and a reporter posed the question aloud that everyone was already thinking: is there anyone on this planet capable of guarding him? Jimmy Butler, who had only just cracked the starting lineup, answered simply and without bravado. He said he would be glad to try. In Game 1, he played all 48 minutes, scored 21 points, grabbed 14 rebounds, and held LeBron to 3 points from the free throw line in the final 5 minutes when everything was on the line. The Heat won the series. But what Jimmy showed in those games permanently changed the way his coaches and teammates saw him. That summer, while his teammates vacationed and posted pictures from beaches, Jimmy turned off his phone and was in the gym at 3 in the morning. He took a post-up jumper he had never been comfortable with and drilled it 10,000 times until it looked like something that had always been his. The results arrived steadily and then all at once. He led the NBA in minutes played. He made the all-defensive team. He broke 20 points per game. He made the All-Star game. He scored 40.5 against Toronto and 53 against Philadelphia. And the city finally, completely saw him. In Minnesota, he found himself surrounded by two of the most gifted young players in the league and discovered something that genuinely troubled him. That talent without hunger is just potential with nowhere to go. He dragged the Timberwolves to the playoffs for the first time in 14 years, then asked out and walked away, carrying a label the media happily attached to him. Locker room cancer. He ignored it and went to the gym. In Philadelphia, a buzzer beater by Kawhi Leonard sent him home early, and he said afterward, without naming anyone, that some people play for money and fame. Then came Miami, and a roster the basketball world treated like a joke, built from undrafted players and overlooked veterans, and a big man everyone kept calling soft. In the 2020 bubble, that team knocked out Giannis, knocked out Boston, and reached the finals. In Game 3, with two starters sidelined and every analyst on television predicting a sweep, Jimmy Butler scored 40 points, grabbed 11 rebounds, dished 13 assists, and became the first player in finals history to outperform LeBron James in all three categories in a single game. 3 years later, he did it again, dragging another collection of cast-offs back to the finals as an 8th seed, making the whole world hold its breath one more time. The ring never came. The mountain wasn't fully climbed, but the story was never really about the ring. It was always about the 13-year-old boy standing outside a closed door with nowhere to go and no one in the world who claimed him, deciding in that hollow and terrifying silence that he would claim himself. It was about every dark morning at 3 a.m. when the gym was empty and nobody was watching, and he was there anyway. It was about what a human being can build from absolutely nothing when they refuse, at every single turning point, to stop. Jimmy Butler was thrown away by everyone who was supposed to hold on to him, and he spent the rest of his life proving that the only person who ever needed to hold on to him was himself. Let go of the voice that says you are weak. Let the voice that says I am strong and I will keep going rise until it fills every corner of your mind. Because if Jimmy Butler's life proves anything at all, it's that as long as you refuse to stop believing, everything, every last impossible thing, remains possible.